Alrighty, so this is our Spring Boot API. Spring Boot is a very nice bootstrapper and framework that we chose to run this project. And part of the Spring Boot or Spring ecosystem is that they have an initializer for us. So the Spring initializer is responsible for populating some of this information to build us a basic project from scratch. So that was really nice. Moving on, our basic structure here is controller. So those are just to handle the HTTP endpoints and what to do when handling requests. Model, we'll start there. So our base objects are photo objects with all the attributes included. ID is handled automatically by Mongo. A username right here, the binary image data. So we receive our controller endpoints receive PNG files, and then they are passed to the user service, which subsequently converts them into binary that is then stored in the photo objects. File name and an arbitrary amount of tags for any usage that the user deems fit. A bunch of getters right there. User photo objects contains multiple photo objects. So we have one user photo object that stores all of the photos for a certain user determined by the username right there. And then something to take note of right there is that is the MongoDB library within Spring Boot being used to denote what collections these objects will go into. Now it's a little different with photos because they're going inside of a user photo instead of in their own collection. So a little bit different in that scenario, but you get the gist. Moving on to the user service. User service right here, we'll start at the top. So this is how we handle our connection to our Mongo database. Spring Boot and Mongo do a lot behind the scenes for us, so there's not a lot of tedious configuration that is required. Insert photo, this is one of our more basic operations. So the criteria, essentially the criteria for the query to be successful. Update the operation to be performed upon a match. Find and modify finds the user photo, finds the user photo with a certain ID and adds, I should say, a photo to the array. This one is not in use anymore. Very simple, create user photo object within the collection. That's what this is right here. The insert pretty much generates the query on its own. Then again, it is NoSQL, so it's way simpler. Another depreciated function right there. Find user by username. Finds a user photo class by username. That's the core criteria right here. And then find one being select the first result that you find. Find photos by username. So this one again grabs a user photo by a username. Except this time it will extract the photos list out and then create a new list of photos which will be returned to the controllers for use. Find photos by tags and username. This is more of the raw Mongo NoSQL queries. That's a good example of what it looks like to write some of those. They still have the dynamic inputs. Find the first user photo, and then from there it will also iterate through, but only if it contains the given tag will it put it into the photos list, which is returned to the controllers. Find photos by tags and username. This is the same as the previous one, just designed to work with up to 3 tags at one time. Find photos solely by tag. So this is the neat part. This is where we get into the concept of joins. Well, essentially the concept of joins within a NoSQL database, and that is aggregation. So aggregation can take the results from multiple queries, combine it into one data set which is returned to you, and usually it is used when the data that you're looking for is not stored within the same document or even the same collection. It is very useful for that and is a good demonstration of what a join might look like in a NoSQL database. So this one right here simply aggregates the photo tags, and then project. There's multiple steps to it. Project only returns the photos and the usernames for those matching photos with those tags, and then it aggregates based off the user photo class. So you will get a user photo class with those aggregations applied to it. And then again, this is just made to work with multiple tags at the same time. Another depreciated function right there. Moving on to controllers, these are the HTTP endpoints that we have in place. Health, just meant to say if the server is up or down. It's useful when using Postman for testing. Photo controller, this is where all the crazy stuff happens. So we got a couple auto declarations by Spring Boot. And then off the bat, this post mapping right here, meant to store a photo for a user. It does a little bit of conversion first, and then simply calls the user service methods, like as were mentioned previously, with those input user values. Store photo for user in bytes. So this one is designed to receive a byte array of the image instead of receiving it as a string or a pure image per se, such as a straight PNG file. Again, does those conversions, and again calls the user service with new instances of the user photos, or say an array of photos, or a single photo object. Those new instances are created and passed to the service directly for usage. Now this is one of our largest, and that's because this is the one that is most interacted with our client. So the client system, whenever it sends us information through the Minecraft modding schema, will come as a string, one huge string. So this is a lot of string parsing that we're doing to kind of break it up and put it into the right values before passing it again into new instances of user photos, photo arrays, or photo objects themselves. Now these are where the client can return data. So this is where the get queries are going to be coming from. So this one only meant to receive tags. They are built out different. Well, this one does receive a username actually. So this must be tags and usernames. And this one is designed to parse out everything that it needs to parse out. And then it will also use user service methods that I mentioned before to get those results. This endpoint, get all photos zip, only by username this time I should add, is meant to receive all of the zip, all of the photos acquired or stored by that user in the database as a zip file. I forgot to say that this API returns collections of files in a single zip file. If you want a single picture, you're going to need to hit a different endpoint. This one is pretty much the same as all the other ones above, except it's only designed to receive tag values. And then an arbitrary amount of tags can be put in here because it all comes as one string anyway, so we break it up into the array of string values as you see in the user service. And that's about it. Yeah, it's a very simple setup we got going here, but it works and it helped us learn a lot about NoSQL and especially Java.